What if the only person who sees the truth is a child no one believes? They say children have wild imaginations, but what if that imagination is the only thing standing between a billionaire and a murderer? In a world of charm, lies, and hidden identities, 9-year-old Lena Whitaker sees what no one else does. The woman her father is about to marry isn't who she claims to be. But when your voice is small and the danger is deadly, how far would you go to protect the only family you have left? Love-gripping emotional thrillers with shocking twists and unstoppable young heroines. Then hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that even the smallest voice can uncover the darkest secrets. Let's grow this community of story lovers, because truth deserves to be heard and stories like Lena's deserve to be told. The afternoon sun poured through the tall windows of Lena's bedroom, spilling golden light across the pale blue carpet. Dust motes danced silently in the beams, floating like spirits. Lena sat cross-legged on the floor, carefully arranging her mother's seashells, each one nestled in a velvet-lined wooden box her father had made after the funeral. She picked up the pink conch shell, her mother's favorite, and held it to her ear. The ocean was still in there, or maybe just memory. A knock on her door broke the silence. "Lena?" Her father's voice drifted up the stairs, uncharacteristically bright. "Can you come down, sweetheart? I've got something important to tell you." Important wasn't a word her father used lightly. She set the conch back in its place with reverence and stood. Her slippers whispered along the polished floor as she descended the wide staircase. From the landing, she could see him pacing. Elliot Whitaker, tech mogul turned ghost of a man, looked strangely alive today. His silvering hair combed back, his navy sweater almost casual, and something else, something lighter. "There's my girl," he said, smiling as she entered the room. "What is it?" Lena asked, eyes flicking to the coffee table, expecting perhaps a new book or news of a trip. Elliot motioned for her to sit beside him on the velvet couch. "You remember Camille?" he asked, eyes searching hers. Lena's stomach tightened. "The woman with the red scarf?" "Yes, Camille Arden. We've been spending time together these past few months." Lena nodded slowly. Camille had visited twice. She was beautiful and warm when Elliot was watching, but her smile never quite made it to her eyes. Elliot inhaled deeply. "I've asked Camille to marry me, and she said yes." Lena blinked. "You're getting married in 3 months. I know it might feel fast, but Lena, she makes me feel like myself again." The room suddenly felt too warm. "Okay," she said, voice small. "She's excited to meet you properly," Elliot continued, unaware of her unease. "She has all these ideas. Cooking classes together, maybe redecorating your room. Doesn't that sound fun?" "Sure," Lena lied, blinking hard. He squeezed her hand. "We're going to be a family again." Lena tried to smile, but something inside her curled in retreat. Her mother's face flashed in her mind, framed on the piano beside the silent keys. The following weekend, Elliot hosted a small gathering at the mansion for close friends and family. Lena, dressed in the seafoam green dress her mother had sewn for her birthday, hovered near the base of the stairs, watching Camille orchestrate the event like a conductor. "Lena, darling," Camille called, gliding toward her. Her chestnut hair flowed over her shoulders, a soft blue dress accentuating her movie star glow. "I have something special for you." She opened a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny rose charm. "I thought we could start our relationship with something meaningful," she said, fastening it onto Lena's wrist. "May I?" Lena didn't answer, but offered her arm. "There," Camille said, brushing a curl from Lena's forehead. "We're going to be such good friends." The bracelet was cold, heavy, not from weight, but from something else Lena couldn't name. Camille's smile thinned. "Your father thinks you're quite the artist. Perhaps we can transform your room. Something more grown up." Before Lena could respond, the doorbell rang. Camille turned briskly. "That must be your Aunt Vivian." Vivian Monroe swept into the room like a gust of wind. Scarf askew, glasses smudged, a scowl directed toward the floral arrangements. She hugged Lena tightly before turning to Elliot. 6 months, she muttered when they were alone on the back terrace. She's been in your life for 6 months and you're planning a wedding. Vivian, don't start, Elliot said with a warning look. She makes me happy. Vivian's eyes narrowed. You haven't looked happy in years, and now suddenly you're smiling like a man selling miracle cures. Inside, Camille laughed loudly with guests. Vivian leaned closer to Lena, voice lowered. How do you feel about her? Lena hesitated. She's different when Dad's not around. Vivian's eyebrows shot up. Different how? She talks nicer when he's nearby. Otherwise, she just stares, like she's waiting for something. Vivian looked over her shoulder. I'll keep an eye out. You do the same. That night, after the last guest had left and the candles had burned low, Camille found Lena upstairs brushing her teeth. Your aunt is quite the character, she said coolly. I can see why your father doesn't talk about her much. She's nice, Lena mumbled. Camille leaned against the doorway. And outspoken. That can be dangerous. Lena didn't know what to say, so she said nothing. The next morning, Lena sat at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal, flipping through her piano sheet music. She had a recital next week, one her father had promised to attend. It was the first time she'd play in front of a crowd since her mother's funeral. Camille entered with a tablet in hand. Your father had to leave early for a meeting. Just us girls today. Lena nodded. Camille's eyes flicked to the music sheets. About your recital. I've rescheduled it. What? Lena sat upright. Why? I've arranged an important dinner that night. Potential investors. Your father's reputation comes first. But he promised he'd come. Well, Camille said, placing the tablet down with a soft click. Sometimes promises have to be adjusted. Life doesn't stop for piano recitals. Lena's hands curled into fists. You can't just... I can, Camille interrupted, voice like ice. And I did. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I'm creating a new chapter for all of us. Your mother is gone, Lena. You do well to remember that. Lena's throat burned. She's still part of us. Not for much longer. Camille straightened, her smile sliding back into place. Finish your breakfast. I've arranged for your room to be measured this afternoon. As Camille walked away, Lena stared down at her bracelet. The rose charm caught the light, shimmering like something beautiful and deadly. She would not let her mother disappear. She would not let her father be blinded. Whatever Camille Arden was hiding, Lena would find it. Lena's fingers clutched the hem of her sweater as she stood beneath the canopy at the school entrance. Rain drizzled in thin sheets, glistening on the pavement. The buses had left already, but she didn't mind. Camille was picking her up today, and that meant at least 10 more minutes of peace. Across the street, a sleek black car idled by the curb. Lena squinted through the mist, her breath caught. In the driver's seat sat a man she didn't recognize. Dark hair, sunglasses, too sharply dressed for a rainy school afternoon. Camille leaned in close beside him, her smile curled into something Lena had never seen before. Then Camille laughed and kissed him. Lena's heart jumped. She fumbled in her coat pocket, pulling out her tablet. The image she captured was blurry, rain-speckled, but unmistakable. Camille pulled away, adjusted her coat, and stepped out of the car. The man stayed inside. Moments later, Camille pulled up in her red convertible, her tone sugary sweet. Darling, I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic was dreadful. That's okay, Lena murmured, sliding into the seat, her heart pounding too fast for her words. The next morning, Lena waited until her father was in the shower before she approached Camille in the kitchen. Who was that man you were talking to yesterday? In the black car? Camille didn't miss a beat. Oh, Tyler, he's our wedding planner. There was a last-minute issue with the venue schedule. He seemed familiar, Lena said, testing her. Camille's spoon paused mid-stir in her teacup. Well, he's very discreet, works with lots of high-profile families. Her smile widened. Your father wanted everything perfect. Lena nodded slowly. Right, perfect. As Camille left the kitchen, Lena slipped into the breakfast nook and opened her sketchpad, flipping past her drawings until she reached the back cover, where she'd taped a folded piece of paper, Operation Truth. She added the first entry, Tyler, black car. Camille kissed him, not a planner, lying. Camille left that afternoon for a bridal fitting downtown. Elliot, in back-to-back Zoom meetings, had no idea Lena snuck into his study and sat at his massive glass desk. The computer screen glowed in the dim room. Lena typed in the password, Margaret 1967, her mother's birth year. She clicked into the photo folder marked Events. Her father wasn't organized. Most file names were just strings of dates and numbers. But in one folder from a charity gala 3 years ago, a familiar face stood out. Camille. But she didn't look like Camille. Her hair was darker, her face framed by angular glasses. But the smile, the same sharp, calculated smile, was hers. And standing beside her, half cropped from the photo but clearly visible, was the man from the car, Tyler. Lena's breath caught. She took a screenshot and emailed it to herself using a new secret account. Then she cleared the browser history and quietly slipped out of the office. That evening, after dinner, Lena passed by the sitting room and paused. Camille was on the phone, her voice hushed but sharp. She's watching me. The girl. I need more time. Yes, I have it under control. Don't rush me. Lena edged closer. The policy's being finalized. 6 months after the wedding, just like the last ones. No mistakes. Her heart slammed against her chest. Policy. 6 months, like the last ones. The next day, when Camille left her tablet charging unattended in the guest room, Lena seized the moment. She slipped in, her hands shaking. No password. Inside the Messages app were texts from a contact saved only as T, insurance confirmed, sign by Thursday. T, no mistakes this time. T, she suspects, be careful. Lena took photos of the texts with her own tablet and sent them to her hidden folder. Then she deleted the camera history, wiped the fingerprints from the screen, and walked away as if she had never entered. That night she couldn't wait any longer. She knocked on her father's door, tablet in hand. Can we talk? Elliot looked up from his laptop, surprised but smiling. Of course. She sat on the edge of his bed and opened her tablet. I need you to look at something. Please. It's about Camille. His brows knit. Lena, just look, she pleaded. Please. She showed him the blurry photo of Camille, kissing Tyler, then the charity gala picture from years ago, then the text she'd captured from the tablet. She's not who she says she is. I think she's planning something bad. Elliot stared at the screen, then sighed. Sweetheart, I know this is a big change. It's hard, especially after your mom. But Camille is trying. She's doing her best. But the photo, it's grainy. It could be anyone. And those texts, Lena, this could be about wedding planning. You're seeing what you want to. See? Lena's chest ached. I'm not making this up. I know you're not lying, he said gently. But grief, it's tricky. It makes us protect what we've lost. Camille's not replacing your mother. I'm not trying to protect her, Lena said quietly. I'm trying to protect you. Elliot leaned forward and took her hand. I appreciate that. I do. But maybe it's time to give Camille a chance. Just a little more time. As Lena left the room, she didn't notice the faint click at the end of the hall. Camille had been listening. It was nearly midnight when Lena's eyes snapped open. The hallway beyond her bedroom door was bathed in silver moonlight, shadows stretching long across the wood floor. She hadn't meant to fall asleep, not when she'd been planning to sneak into Camille's room again. But the house had been too quiet, and the day too long. Then she heard it. Voices, low, sharp, drifting from the kitchen below. She slid silently from bed, tiptoeing past the creaky third floorboard, and crouched at the top of the stairs. Her heart thudded as she leaned just far enough to catch the words. After the wedding, Camille was saying, once the policy matures, we make the move. 6 months. You said clean, Tyler. A man's voice, smooth and deep, answered, it has to be. No suspicions. The girl's watching me now. She's a child, Camille snapped. She won't matter once it's done. Lena's throat clenched. She turned and fled silently back to her room, pressing her back against the wall, her breath tight in her lungs. They're planning to kill my father. The next morning, Lena sat at the breakfast table, silent. Camille poured herself a cup of coffee, as graceful as ever, then turned to her with a smile that sent a chill down Lena's spine. "Did you sleep well, sweetheart?" Lena didn't answer. Camille leaned closer, lowering her voice to a whisper that barely stirred the air. "I heard you in the hallway last night." Lena's eyes met hers, and Camille's expression darkened, just slightly. "You shouldn't sneak around, Lena. It's not safe. Sleepwalking can be so unpredictable. Doors get left open, stairs can be slippery." Lena gripped her spoon tighter. "I wasn't sleepwalking." Camille's smile returned, wider. "Of course you weren't. But if I ever find you wandering again, I may have to start locking your door at night, for your safety, of course." Lena felt her stomach twist. "I'll tell my dad," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Camille's laugh was soft and terrifying. "Tell him what? That you had a bad dream. He doesn't believe your little stories anymore." That afternoon, Camille left for a venue walkthrough, and Elliot was still downtown at a board meeting. Lena knew this might be her last chance. She went straight to the guest room, Camille's so-called home office, and pulled out the skeleton key from the old library cabinet. It fit easily into the lock. Inside, the room was disturbingly clean, not just tidy, sanitized. No photos, no notebooks, no personal scent, just a tablet charging beside the neatly made bed. Lena searched the drawers, flipping through labeled folders of color palettes and venue maps. Nothing. Then she checked the closet. Tucked into the far corner was a small fireproof safe. Lena swallowed. She didn't know the code, but maybe the tablet held a clue. She opened it. No password again. At first, it looked like nothing more than boring wedding logistics, but in a folder labeled Insurance, she found the document. A scanned policy form. Policy holder, Elliot Whitaker. Beneficiary, Camille Arden. Amount, $50,000, effective upon marriage, payable after 6 months. Lena gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. It was all real. She snapped photos of the screen with her tablet and hurried out of the room, locking the door behind her. Still shaking, Lena returned to the master bedroom. She knew Camille kept her jewelry box on Elliot's dresser. She hadn't had a reason to open it before. Now she did. Inside the drawer, nestled beneath velvet, was a narrow compartment that looked deeper than it should. Lena pressed gently. Click. The bottom shifted. A false base. Beneath it lay a slim, leather-bound notebook. Lena opened it slowly. Page after page was covered in numbers, initials and dates, names crossed out, including 2 Lena didn't recognize. One line was circled repeatedly, EW, 50 meters, July. Beside it, accident, no trace. She flipped through, her eyes landing on a chilling phrase written in looping ink, final inheritance, disappear within 2 weeks. "Who are you really?" Lena whispered. She documented each page, her fingers trembling, then carefully replaced the notebook and closed the box, erasing any sign of disturbance. As Lena slipped out of the bedroom, clutching her tablet, she turned the corner and collided with Camille. "Lena," Camille said, her voice clipped. I was looking for tissues," Lena lied, trying to keep her hands steady. "From the guest bathroom. I ran out." Camille's eyes dropped to the tablet in Lena's arms. "You're always so prepared." Lena smiled tightly, just trying to stay organized. Before Camille could press further, Rosa, the housekeeper, appeared at the end of the hall with fresh linens. "Oh, Miss Camille, was this where you wanted the new towels?" Camille's mask reassembled with alarming speed. "Yes, thank you, Rosa." She turned back to Lena, her tone suddenly sweet again. "We'll have our little chat later." Lena retreated down the hallway, heart racing. In her room, she locked the door, backed against it, and finally allowed her tears to fall. She needed help. She needed Aunt Vivian. Lena faked a cough over her oatmeal. "I think I have a stomachache," she muttered. One hand pressed lightly to her belly. "Can I stay home today?" Camille studied her from across the breakfast table, her smile tight. "I suppose," she said, voice like syrup gone cold. "But no wandering. Rest means rest." Elliot stood, Already late for a board. Call. You'll be all right, sweetheart. He kissed her forehead, too distracted to notice her flinch. Camille will check on you. Lena nodded. I just need to sleep. As the front door closed behind her father, Lena watched Camille leave the room. Then she ran. Grabbing her tablet, her sweater, and a crumpled note with an address, she slipped out the back door and through the rose garden to the neighboring street. Vivian's car was already waiting at the end of the block. You came, Lena gasped, sliding into the passenger seat. Vivian looked her over. You've grown bolder. I had to. I found it. All of it. Lena pulled out her tablet and began to show her everything. Vivian sat in her apartment, the walls lined with old newspapers and whiteboards. Lena watched from the couch, feet swinging, as Vivian made the call. Yeah, it's her, she said into the phone. Camille Arden. Check aliases for Rowena Blake. 2 dead husbands. Yes, same M.O. Wealthy, fast marriage, large payout. Accident within 6 months. I need confirmation. She hung up, turning to Lena. My guy's on it. Ex-PI from Providence. He's fast and thorough. Lena hugged her knees. You believe me now? Vivian walked over and placed a hand on Lena's shoulder. Sweetheart, I never didn't believe you. I just needed to be sure. And now, I am. Lena's eyes glistened. What do? We wait for proof. Then we take it straight to your father. But what if she stops us? Vivian's voice dropped to a whisper. Then we stop her first. Back at the mansion, Camille's behavior shifted. She no longer masked her dislike. Instead, she monitored Lena. What she ate, where she went, how long she spent alone. You're not drawing much lately, Camille noted one morning, slicing strawberries with surgical precision. Been busy, Lena replied, eyes on her cereal. Your father and I are moving up the wedding, Camille said. This weekend, you'll be our junior bridesmaid. Isn't that exciting? Lena didn't answer. Camille leaned in, whispering in her ear, Smiles are expected, Lena, especially when cameras are involved. The next few days became a blur of fittings, menus, and floral deliveries. But Lena watched and waited. Every time Camille turned her back, Lena slipped another piece of evidence into her teddy bear, the old one with the loose stitching, her mother's final gift. Inside its cotton belly, a truth was growing, one that couldn't be ignored. Vivian's phone buzzed with a coded message from Callahan. Confirmed, real name, Rowena Blake, 2 suspicious deaths, life insurance link, police interest pending. I'll hand deliver everything. Vivian showed Lena the message. She's done this before. She vanishes after each kill, changes hair, identity, career. Do you think Dad will believe us now? Lena asked. Vivian hesitated. He'll want to, but love blinds even the best men. Then we need more than words. They made a plan. Vivian would bring the evidence to the wedding rehearsal. The detective, her old friend, would come too. If Elliot wouldn't listen privately, they'd be ready to act publicly. Lena nodded slowly. I can do it. If he needs to hear it from me, I'll tell him. I'm not scared. Vivian looked at her, this small girl with a lion's heart. You're braver than most grown women I know. The church glowed with candles and ivory ribbon. Guests arrived early for the rehearsal. Camille floated through the nave like a swan, smiling, directing, glowing with anticipation. But her eyes searched. She found Lena alone in a side hallway, clutching her flower basket. Having second thoughts about walking the aisle, Camille asked sweetly. No, Lena said. Are you? Camille's smile didn't reach her eyes. I know what you and your aunt are doing. Your games end now. It's not a game, Lena said. You're not who you say you are. Camille leaned in, voice low. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I do, Lena replied, and so will everyone else. Camille's eyes flicked to the entrance. She saw Vivian, and beside her, a man in a trench coat with a badge clipped to his belt. For the first time, Camille faltered. She turned back to Lena, venom in her voice. You think anyone will believe a little girl? I think they'll believe the truth. Camille straightened, smoothing her dress. You'll regret this. Lena lifted her chin. You should. The morning sun poured through the stained glass windows of St. Bridget's Cathedral, turning the white marble aisles. into kaleidoscopes of color. The sanctuary had been transformed for the wedding, towering roses, velvet ribbons, a string quartet softly playing Vivaldi. Lena stood in a quiet side chamber, adjusting the sash of her pale pink bridesmaid dress. She could hear the murmurs of guests outside, the echo of heels on tile, the rustle of silk, but her eyes were locked on the entrance to the cathedral. Vivian had promised she would be there, with Detective Pearson, and with the proof. She touched the seam of her teddy bear, hidden safely in the bridal suite. Inside it, hard evidence, copies of the insurance policy, Camille's forged identity, and the notebook pages. Her mother's bear had become her vault. The door opened. Her father entered, handsome in his tuxedo, eyes shining with joy. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Lena managed a small smile. "So do you." Elliot knelt beside her. "I know all of this has been a lot, but today's the start of something good. We're going to be a family again." Lena hesitated. "Dad, if something doesn't feel right, you can still change your mind, even now." He chuckled gently. "Cold feet from the junior bridesmaid?" She didn't laugh. Instead, she whispered, "Promise you'll listen to me if I tell you something important?" His brow furrowed, but he nodded. "Always." The music swelled, guests rose. Camille appeared in the arched doorway in her designer gown, a vision of grace and poise. A hushed gasp moved through the crowd as she glided down the aisle, arm in arm with her uncle, her only living relative. Lena watched her from the front pew, every muscle tight. Camille's eyes found hers and held. Behind her, near the vestibule, Vivian gave Lena the faintest nod. Detective Pearson sat beside her, stone-faced. The priest cleared his throat. "We are gathered here today to join Elliot Whitaker and Camille Arden in holy matrimony." Lena's hands trembled. She closed her eyes for one moment, heard her mother's voice from long ago. "You are brave. You are light. Speak when no one else can. If anyone here knows of any reason this couple should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace." Lena stood. "I do." A collective gasp rippled through the cathedral. Elliot turned to her, stunned. "Lena, you can't marry her," she said, her voice surprisingly strong. "She's not who she says she is." Camille's face twitched, just barely. "She's a child," she said to Elliot, forcing a soft laugh. "She's nervous. It's been a hard year." Lena stepped forward. "Her real name is Rowena Blake. She's already killed 2 men, husbands, after taking out insurance policies. She's trying to do the same to you." Elliot's face paled. "Lena, that's a horrible accusation." "I have proof," Lena interrupted, breathing fast. "It's in my teddy bear, the one Mom gave me." Camille's mask began to crack. "This is ridiculous." "Check the bear," Lena said again. "Please." For a long moment, Elliot stood frozen between 2 women, one beaming, one pleading. Finally, he turned to the wedding coordinator. "Get the bear from the bridal suite." Camille turned sharply. "You're humoring this." "If it's nonsense," Elliot said quietly, "we'll move on." Camille's hands clenched at her sides. The coordinator returned with the bear, looking confused. Elliot gently unzipped the hidden seam and pulled out the sealed envelope. Inside, pages of evidence, the policy, the photos, Camille's notebook pages, written in her own hand. He flipped through them, silently, each page draining the color from his face. "Camille," he whispered, "what is this?" Camille's smile vanished. She stepped back, calculating. "It's nothing, just forged nonsense. The girl's been spiraling since her mother." "She's telling the truth," Elliot said, voice breaking. "You planned to kill me." Tyler, disguised as the wedding photographer, began to move toward the side exit. "Stop him!" Vivian shouted, rising to her feet. "That's her accomplice!" Detective Pearson stood, flashing his badge. "Boston PD, everyone remain seated." Camille bolted. Camille sprinted down the cathedral's side aisle, silk train dragging behind her. Tyler pushed past pews and photographers. Lena watched it unfold as if in slow motion. Outside, police cars pulled in with flashing lights. Officers swarmed the exit. Camille and Tyler were caught in seconds. Tyler tackled. Camille grabbed at the threshold. "This isn't over!" Camille screamed, her voice wild. "You don't know what you've done!" Detective Pearson handcuffed her, reading her rights. Vivian joined Lena, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Elliot descended from the altar slowly, eyes locked on his daughter. "You saved my life," he whispered. "I tried to tell you," Lena said, tears falling freely now. "I know," Elliot said, pulling her into his arms. "I know, I'm so sorry." Around them, wedding guests stood in stunned silence, bouquets wilting, violins still. What had begun as a celebration had ended as a reckoning. The Whitaker mansion was quiet again. No more silk dresses rustling through the halls. No more strangers posing as photographers, just the echo of old floors beneath familiar feet. Lena sat on the window seat in her room, staring into the garden. Outside, Vivian knelt by the roses, pruning them carefully, restoring what Camille had tried to overwrite. Inside, Elliot sat silently in the study, staring at the framed insurance policy he'd once considered a gesture of trust. Now, it was just a warning. Mrs. Reynolds visited every few days, bringing soup, lemon cake, and light. Her presence seemed to stitch them all back together, one warm word at a time. One night, as Lena lay in bed, Elliot knocked on her door. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He sat on the edge of her bed, the lines in his face deeper but somehow clearer. "I keep thinking about how close I came to losing everything," he said softly, "because I wanted to believe in something beautiful." Lena reached for his hand. "You didn't lose everything." He smiled for the first time in days. "No, I didn't." Vivian's phone rang late one evening as Lena and Elliot played chess in the sunroom. She answered in the kitchen, pacing. "Vivian Monroe, yes? You found him?" Her expression darkened. "Where?" Pause. Then, "And Camille." Lena entered just as Vivian hung up. "It was Callahan," Vivian said. "Tyler's been caught." "Caught?" Elliot asked, entering behind Lena. "He tried to cross into Vermont, alone, which means Camille's still." "Out there," Lena finished, her voice steady. Vivian nodded grimly. "Callahan says Tyler's talking. Apparently Camille's already assuming a new identity. And she's angry, furious." "Does she know she's exposed?" Elliot asked. "She knows enough. Tyler says she blames Lena for everything." Elliot's face shifted into something harder, more focused. "Then we upgrade security, starting now." He wrapped an arm around Lena's shoulders. "We're not living in fear, but we'll be ready." 2 weeks later, Lena awoke to the creak of floorboards. She sat upright, her ears straining. The house alarm hadn't gone off, but something felt off. Too quiet, too still. She slipped from her bed, grabbed the metal flashlight from her nightstand, and crept into the hallway. Voices. She ducked into the linen closet and listened. A man's voice, low. "Upstairs. Check the girl's room. Camille." "I'll handle Elliot," she said, her voice colder than ever. "No one else touches her." Lena's blood turned to ice. She reached behind the towels, grabbed the emergency phone Vivian had given her, and texted one word: "Now." Then she climbed out the window, onto the trellis, and down into the garden. Camille crept into Elliot's bedroom with a pistol in one hand and poison in the other, but Elliot was gone. So was Lena. Suddenly, light flooded the hallway. Sirens shrieked outside. From the guest room closet, Elliot stepped out, bat in hand. "Looking for someone?" he asked, voice calm but seething. Camille turned, gun raised. But Lena was faster. She swung the flashlight with everything she had, striking Camille's wrist. The weapon skittered to the floor. Camille lunged for it, just as officers burst in, pinning her to the floor. "Vanessa Hill," Detective Pearson barked. "You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy." "You don't know what I've lost," Camille screamed. "What she cost me." Elliot stepped in front of Lena. "You lost because you underestimated her." Lena stared down at the woman, who had almost destroyed her family. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." 1 year later, the garden bloomed brighter than ever. The press dubbed it the Whitaker Reawakening. Elliot had turned his private pain into purpose, launching the Compass Foundation, an organization devoted to protecting vulnerable families from financial predators and emotional manipulation. At the dedication ceremony, Lena wore a soft blue dress and a silver necklace. Hanging from it was a compass etched with the words, "Trust your direction. Love, Dad." The crowd applauded as Elliot took the stage. "But the real hero isn't me," he said, eyes on Lena. "She's 9 years old. She saw what I couldn't. She spoke when no one would listen. She saved me, and herself." Later, as twilight painted the garden gold, Lena found Vivian by the roses. "Do you think she's really gone?" Lena asked. Vivian hesitated. "She's behind bars." "But," Lena raised an eyebrow, "but there are rumors. Camille had a daughter. Someone younger, maybe already running her own game." Lena's jaw tightened. "Then we stay ready." Vivian smiled. Spoken like a true Whitaker. They stood in silence, watching the roses sway. For now, the silence was peaceful, but Lena knew better than anyone. Sometimes it's just the beginning of another storm. What would you do if the person your father trusted most was secretly plotting his death? Would you have the courage to speak up, especially when no one believes you? Lena Whitaker did. At just 9 years old, she uncovered a killer hiding behind a perfect smile, exposed a web of lies, and risked everything to protect her family. But here's the twist. Even after the villain was unmasked, the danger didn't end. Camille, real name Rowena Blake, wasn't working alone, and her legacy may still be unfolding. So we ask you, what other secrets could be hiding in plain sight? If it were your family, would you have noticed the cracks? If this story gripped you like it did us, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more emotionally intense narratives, gripping plot twists, and powerful storytelling that stays with you long after the credits roll. Don't forget to leave a comment. What would you have done in Lena's place? And who do you think Rowena's daughter is targeting next? Share your theories below and hit that like button if you believe in the strength of a child's voice to change everything.